So for our first session of the day, I am so excited to get to introduce our very own Chief Operating and Programs Officer, Arana Shapiro, along with Alex Servello, the Director of Corporate Social Responsibilities at Verizon, with a special announcement. We are very proud to announce a partnership with Verizon to create content, next generation content focused on providing teachers, administrators, and district leaders in the K-12 space with the necessary tools to effectively implement and leverage gaming and esports across core content classrooms. I know, right? Awesome! Arana and Alex will talk about the partnership and the resources made for the Verizon Innovative Learning HQ platform. So please welcome Arana and Alex to the stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning, everyone. There's no fire, but I'm Alex Servello. I'm Director of Corporate Social Responsibility for Verizon. I lead our initiatives related to education and community.
I'm Arana Shapiro. I'm the Chief Operating and Programs Officer at Games for Change. And among kind of the day-to-day stuff at Games for Change, I also focus on our programs with a specific focus on all of our learning programs, so student and educator-facing programs.
Yeah.
So Susanna made an exciting announcement, and we're going to talk a little bit more about it. But I think maybe we could just start, Alex, by you talking a little bit about Verizon's work in education. And what you've been up to.
Absolutely. So, like I said, I work within our corporate social responsibility team, and my team specifically is dedicated to youth and digital inclusion. Digital inclusion work for us is really addressing the barriers to connectivity. And I just want to give some context to all of this before we get into the gaming pieces and some of the digital skills. We talk a lot about the digital divide, and I want to be clear that this is not something that was caused by the pandemic or started by the pandemic. It was something that got a lot more attention because of that. We know that there were about 7.5 million students who were unconnected or underconnected in 2019, and that number did begin to shrink a bit, where we now are at about 4.5 million students across the country. We're seeing those gaps close mostly for Black, Hispanic, and Native American populations, and also for students that are in the lowest income quarter. But how that's actually happening is from school districts that are purchasing technology, school districts that are purchasing connectivity. And how are a majority of school districts doing that? They're using federal pandemic relief funds. So what we're really on the verge of is a fiscal cliff where even more students will be unconnected or underconnected in the coming years. So at Verizon, we realized that that device and connectivity gap cannot be the extent of what we do. We need to develop sustainable solutions to really ensure that we are building a culture around technology integration, thinking about all the stakeholders, and not just focusing on providing a device and walking away. We wanted to ensure that we were thinking about all those systems. And that's what Verizon Innovative Learning really is. We have our schools program where we provide one-to-one tech along with comprehensive professional development to the schools and the district leaders. And that's in partnership with Digital Promise. In partnership with Arizona State University and Heart of America, we build emerging tech lab spaces across the country in Verizon Innovative Learning schools, where we actually pair an elective design thinking curriculum. And we also work on HBCU, HSI, and community college campuses across the country, providing STEM enrichment programs. So ultimately, what we really try to do is think about digital inclusion on a systemic level rather than just the device and connectivity.
Yeah, and that's aligns so well with the work that we do at Games for Change, particularly when we think about teachers, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the things that is really important to us at G4C Learn, which is the sort of little brand within Games for Change that focuses on the learning, is that we really we had for a long time this student-facing program, which did touch teachers, and we brought teachers in for a day or two to learn how to teach game design, but it was really about the students. And one thing that we know is, kids, we don't have to convince kids that games are good, right? Or that they want to play games, but really it's about how do we create a ecosystem within a school, right, where lots of people are thinking about this work and participating in this work. And one of the things that we did at Games for Change was really start to lean into the teacher professional development. Like, how can we really blow that up a little bit to make it a little bit more robust? Because we know that the transformation of teacher practice is really where we're going to see the transformation of classrooms, right? So it's not, again, just to your point, it's not just the bringing in the tools, but how do you use them? And that lies with the teacher, right? Whether it's teaching them how to use specific tools or teaching them mindsets that gaming can do, but also just the idea that kids are going to know things that you might not know, and how do you work together? I mean, it's a mindset shift, right? And so I think that that's a place where Verizon and Games for Change really aligned to come together.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So maybe we could talk a little bit now, like, about what it is about gaming, like why games and esports, because it could have gone in a lot of different, and has gone in a lot of different directions, right?
We are really looking at digital skills more broadly, and we have a platform called Verizon Innovative Learning HQ, where we have lesson plans, professional development, and immersive learning applications. And we look at digital skills that we can promote on a national level. I think about a few things. I want to promote digital skills that have multiple points of entry. And to me, gaming is a perfect example of that, right? You have something where you can access it from a low technology perspective, high technology, multiple content areas, multiple backgrounds, teacher abilities, etc. I want something where students are able to create. I think a term that we hear a lot right now is tech fatigue, and I think we need to be realistic that what we're experiencing is fatigue with passive use of technology, and we need to begin thinking about how students are actively engaged in technology. And as a teacher, one of the things that always excites me about gaming is that there's no right way to do it. It's something where you could really choose your own adventure with that. But with that being said, one of the things that we've spoken about is when we hear gaming talked about in like a broader education conference perspective, we hear about the possibility of gaming, the future of gaming. We hear about the arenas full of students, the scholarships to college, and you have to imagine how alienating that could be for a teacher or district that doesn't even know where to begin. So for us, what we really thought was the opportunity with Games for Change was to provide something real. Provide something where we took advantage of your extensive experience in providing professional development and your extensive experience in this industry to ensure that we were developing a comprehensive suite of professional development resources, some of which are actually live on Verizon Innovative Learning HQ today. Do you want to talk a bit more about the content that we have available right now?
Yeah, so Games for Change is really excited and thankful to Verizon for the opportunity to do this work. It's really cool. We have started to populate stuff onto Verizon Innovative Learning HQ. Right now, what we have available are 6 courses. They're in 2 different collections. One collection is focused on district school leaders, and one collection is focused on school leaders. And the courses,
I'll put it up.
Okay, the courses are focused on helping the stakeholders understand how they might be able to leverage games to engage youth in their either schools if they're district leader, or in their one school if they're a school leader. And it really starts with kind of an overview of what the games and learning field, right? Like what are best practices? What's the difference between using a game or using game-like learning or using gamification? Like, it really breaks it all down for both the school leader and the district leader, and then does the same thing. And then there's a course that does the same thing for esports. So what is esports? Why might you want to bring esports to your school? What are the opportunities available for youth? And educators, and then the last course in each of those collections kind of ties it all together by saying, like, okay, now you know about games and you know about esports, and how can you make this happen? How can you set your district up or your school up for success? And one of the things that I love about this project is that, it wasn't Games for Change that said, oh, we think we should do something for school leaders and district leaders. Although I do, it was Verizon actually who said, like, we want to do something for everybody. Like, we want to make sure that all the stakeholders are kind of taken care of and paid attention to. And what I think is so amazing and brilliant about that is that for those of you who have worked in schools, or even just because you went to school, right? You know schools, and what kids want to do can only happen if the teachers want to make it happen. What teachers want to do can only happen if the school leaders want to make it happen. And what school leaders want to do can only happen if the district leaders want to make it happen. And none of it can happen without everything working together. And so there's a kind of brilliance in trying to level up all these different groups so that they can really make change in their schools.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you picked up on two important ways that we sort of do all of our work within Verizon Innovative Learning. One is that we never work in a silo. We always leverage experts like Games for Change or Arizona State University or Digital Promise or New York City Media Lab with our applications to really think about, are we addressing the most pressing need in this space right now? And we also try to bring in the voices from students that we work with, teachers that we work with. We have advisory panels of them. So I think that that's really critical for us. And then what you also picked up on is direct services to students are something that we see a lot of. We see a lot of photo opportunities where you're providing something to a student and giving it. And those are all well-intentioned and important. But if we want to make systemic change, if we want to actually see gaming or any other digital skill really become part of the culture of a district, we need to be addressing all those stakeholders. I really love in your professional development courses that you have on Verizon Innovative Learning HQ, just even the very simple guide of let's talk about how you get buy-in from all these different stakeholders and how do you actually have this conversation with parents, your board, your superintendent. Because for any of us who have been in a district, you have a well-intentioned educator, maybe some really incredible students, but you're trying to convince IT, why do you need firewalls taken down? You're trying to convince a principal why they should be giving you club access to run an esports club. All those conversations are such big barriers for a lot of schools, so I appreciate you building out those supports.
Yeah. So what Alex is referring to is in both the school leader and the district leader PD, we have a kind of activity where we help guide participants through creating an elevator pitch based on whoever their audience is. And the reason why I thought this was such an important thing to include is because in my work, I've been working in the games and learning space for about 15 years, 16 years now. And I still have to convince people, right? I still have to I still get a little nervous when I'm like games and I'm like, oh no, they're gonna they're not gonna take me seriously. So I think it's really important to be able to deliver your message in a way that is impactful, but also can rely heavily on data, because there is a lot of data out there, which is also in the course. And it's not a skill that everyone has to be able to do that. And so I think it was an important piece of it. And I
agree. And I think you also did a great job of demonstrating that there are a lot of things that districts are already doing around game-based learning, gamified learning, that I think is critical as well.
Maybe we can talk a little bit about what's coming next in this, because right now you have district and school leader PD. By the end of the summer, we're going to have a teacher course for educators around using games. That'll be a little bit more in depth than the district and school leader, like really the nuts and bolts of it and how do you do it in the classroom. And then you can stay tuned for a whole bunch of stuff that's coming. We have a career and college readiness curriculum or what kind of pathways curriculum. We have a video series that's going to be launching called Voices from the Field, which is going to have interviews of all the kind of industry experts. We're just really, really excited about it. And
we are too. And I think it was important to us to create a big variety of resources that schools can use, just because we know that so many schools are at different points in their journey in implementing gaming and esports. So we're excited to see those resources come. And I think that once we see them in use, we'll probably realize, oh, actually schools need this as well. Yeah. And we'll begin to develop even more and, possibly find other opportunities there.
So while we have you here, I wonder if you want to talk a little bit about you mentioned them a little bit at the beginning, but the other things that are happening on the platform and how the Games for Change stuff kind of integrates and fits into it all.
Yeah, absolutely. So Verizon Innovative Learning HQ, which you can access if you go to those QR codes, it is a platform that houses, essentially, we for 10 years have been in schools through our schools program, our labs program, our STEM Achievers program, and we realized that there was an opportunity to take all this professional development that we've developed, all these lesson plans that we developed, that we've perfected over the course of 10 years, and make them available to anyone that wanted to use them. So, for instance, our entire lab curriculum that was developed by Arizona State University, who's also here, and you can hear them talk more about some of the resources they've created. All of their curriculum that they created as part of the lab program is available for free to anyone to access. All of the professional learning that is aligned with micro-credentials from Digital Promise is available for free, and you can earn a micro-credential from Digital Promise for free. So that was one piece. We wanted to make sure that all of our best practices were available. But the second piece was that we also had an opportunity with New York City Media Lab where we developed a series of ed tech applications, and we wanted to make those freely available for anyone. And what we saw as an opportunity as well is while some of these apps started as virtual reality apps that required headsets, we saw an opportunity to actually democratize access to them and begin creating web-based experiences. So we're in the process of building that out so that some of these actually are web-based and device agnostic so that anyone can access some of those experiences. But really, this entire site is around giving educators, giving school leaders, giving informal educators the tools needed to really effectively integrate technology. And I think gaming is an area that we really had a gap. It's something that we saw a lot of interest in, so we were really excited at the opportunity to build this together.
We were too. So, and so what's next? Like, where's the platform going? What's the future vision?
I think we have a significant amount of content on the site, and I think that one thing that we're constantly doing is getting as much user feedback as possible about what is working, what are things that we need to embed even further. One of my big initiatives is I really want to make the site as accessible to everyone as possible. So ensuring that there are as few barriers to that. So when we look at things like, for instance, some of our applications, you have to think about every time you have to download something or every time you have to go to another site, it creates a barrier where there might have to be something that needs to be whitelisted within a district, et cetera. So thinking about that user experience to make it all embedded in there, we've built out a lot more of the single sign-on capacity so teachers can access it with Microsoft, Google, ClassLink, Clever. All of those are available for any teacher to access, but we're constantly just really looking at user feedback to take advantage of that.
It's for those of you who are interested, it is an easy, I'm not advertising for, but it's an easy sign-on process, and the courses are free and available, which I think is so amazing. What I really am super excited about is the idea that that games for learning can be kind of spread wide. Do you want to talk a little bit about the reach?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I do want to just touch on the sign-on piece because I think there's an important distinction to make here as well. I think that whenever we talk about corporate platforms in education, there's always a little bit of hesitance of like, do I really want to put my information on there? And I think that there's an important piece to understand that one, we align with the privacy policy within Verizon, but also since it's a corporate social responsibility initiative, we maintain all of that data within our own platform. That data is never shared to the business. It is never used to send out promotions on Verizon services or devices. And I think that's an important distinction, that this is not a sales pitch. But secondly, when we talk about the reach, our goal is to reach 10 million youth with digital skills training by 2030. As of the end of 2022, we have reached 3.1 million students through all of our initiatives. So we've made a significant amount of progress. I think that gaming is really an opportunity where there are a lot of schools who are looking for resources. And I think that it's really going to help us in reaching even more students with high quality technology integration.
Yeah.
So Arana, I'm curious, as we think about our entire suite of services that we're creating for esports and gaming, what does success look like to you?
I think success, it's interesting. The success indicator for me with this kind of work has been consistent almost through the entirety of my time working in games and learning. I think what I'm really hopeful for and excited about is the idea that games will be something that's kind of accepted as an integral part of teaching and learning. I believe deeply in the power of play. I talk a lot about the power of play. When I started, I taught very young children, but first and second graders. And you watch those kids make sense of the world and they're playing. That is just how human beings make sense of the world. And you see that it's so natural. Even you have a young child at home, right? You watch everything that they learn as they play. They're trying things, they're playing with it. And that gets lost in middle school and high school. It's actually looked at, it's frowned upon. So I think the more we can kind of send this out into the world, the more we can back it up with data. The success sort of looks like people saying oh, I have found a small way to bring this into my classroom, or a small way to bring this into my school, or a big way to bring this in. I think what I'm excited about is that it's broken down in a way that I think there's something for everybody. Like if you want to play a game in your classroom, we can help you figure out how to do that successfully. If you want to transform your curriculum, we can help you figure out how to do that successfully. If you want to run an esports tournament, we can help you figure out how to do that successfully. Like I think, and I think success looks like adoption, but I don't think it needs to be uniform adoption, right? And I think that that's really such a powerful thing about the way we've structured this.
And I think also an understanding of what it is and what it isn't. I think it's similar to what we face with immersive learning. When we talk about immersive learning in education, I think there are some who assume that that means you walk into a classroom, you put on a VR headset, and you never look up. And that's just not the case at all. And we also don't want it to be a one-time 10-minute experience, and then you never go back to it again. But there is a wide range of what it can look like within that. And I think similarly with gaming, we have the same. When I think of success for this program, I want to see a district on the stage. I want to see a district talk about how they used our resources to actually help them develop an esports program, and really look at it from a few different perspectives. And I think that would also be incredibly helpful for us as we continue to build out this program.
Absolutely. We are just about out of time. I'm wondering if you want to, we have some, Verizon is a huge supporter of this festival, but also we're highlighting a lot of the work that Games for Change has done with Verizon, but also the work that Alex has mentioned during this talk at the festival in these sessions.
So we have a panel coming up later today at the Microsoft building on exploring esports and gaming in K-12 educational systems. Nick Matula from my team at Verizon will be presenting along with some of our partners at Arizona State University, as well as Games for Change on what we are really building there. And I'm excited for you to see that from a partner perspective as well. Later on today, Arizona State University and our partners at Current Studios are actually leading a workshop where we're looking at the Verizon Innovative Learning Lab online, which is an experience that we built out on Verizon Innovative Learning HQ, really built out of us realizing that there was a need to democratize that access to emerging technology. And I'm so thrilled for the work that they put into that, and also that it's not edutainment, but it's actually an experience that lines up with standards and is really well thought out from that perspective. And then tomorrow, our partners at New York City Media Lab will actually be doing some displays of our immersive K-12 ed tech applications. So you can actually experience those there and see some of what that immersive education experience looks like on Verizon Innovative Learning HQ.
Great. Yeah. So hopefully you all will check out some of these sessions, and we can thank Alex for sitting down with me to talk a little bit about the programs. We're ready.
Thank you.